Thanks for being here, everybody. We're glad you joined us from all around the country or world.
Yeah, quite a few new people, and I'm really excited about that because SkyDancing Tantra, that's what we're here for, is to learn about what it is. It's something that we're pretty passionate about, that it's made a huge difference in our life and many people. So we have people all the time saying, well, what is it? And we thought we'd come online and answer that question here.
Yeah.
Um,
And one of the first things we always do is let's just take a nice grounding breath together. So everybody take a deep breath in, let it out with a little bit of a sound. Ah. You might close your eyes as you take another breath. Ah. And then let's just do one more of those. Deep breath in. Ah.
yeah.
So we're super happy to welcome you into this space. We invite your curiosity, your openness, and we want you to stay in active presence. There's no need to perform or get it right. And if you need to move in your own space, please do so.
Yeah, because Tantra is a body based experience. And so to really take care of your whole self throughout um, this talk, we have some interaction and experiences that we invite you. And if you also have questions at any time, feel free to put them in the chat. We may wait to answer until they fit into the program, but we do welcome your curiosity with that.
Well, and we may also wait until we see them because there's a lot of things going on the screen and we're focused on this presentation and you. So I don't want to be checking the chat too much. My name is Thomas. I use he, him pronouns, and my tantric name is Sachi Joe. I really like that name because it represents Sat means truth, and Chi means consciousness, Joe means let's have some fun. And so I also want to say that we are in Minnesota. That's where Sarah and I are living, on the ancestral land of the Dakota and the Anishinaabe. We teach Skydancing Tantra here in our home state of Minnesota, Colorado, California, and on the East Coast,
Yeah.
plus sometimes internationally.
Yeah, we'll be leaving soon for Europe because we have a teacher training starting on Friday.
Yay,
Yay!
yay.
Some people here that are excited about that
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
it's a 2 year process.
yeah. And one of the reasons I'm here is that the level of joy and ecstasy I feel most days is really hard to believe from where I came from. There were many years where I struggled with my self worth. I felt pretty small, insignificant, down, and really was at lost at times. And that now I can't even imagine ever feeling that way again. That I feel like within me, I have so much joy and ability to find it in spite of what's happening around me, even in the world, if it's chaos or challenging, and I have a lot of more love for myself. And so that is one of the things that, or many of the things that I've gained from Skydancing Tantra. I want to talk about what it is and what's possible for you.
Yeah, and for me, my personal story is well, I sobered up in 1981, I believe it was, a long time ago. That started my path of growth. And by the time I got to skydance in 2011, it really the path of skydancing, and we'll talk about this later. Sometimes the word tantra means to weave, and it feels like my life story was woven together from the despair I felt before I went into treatment for alcoholism and drug use, potential suicide, all of that, to the point where I feel so balanced. And I see that all these threads of my life are kind of woven together into this beautiful tapestry. And so we became certified Skydancing Tantra teachers in 2014. And what we did right away after that was we founded our school called Love Passionately, School of Mindful and Bodyful Intimacy. And then 6 years later, Margot Anand, the founder of Skydancing, and the directors of Skydancing Tantra International asked us to be directors of the USA.
Yeah, so we've been doing that for 5 years and really supporting a lot of programs and a lot of other teachers to bring their work and their Tantra to the USA and Americas, Canada and Mexico at times. That we also, while you heard our story was really about ourselves, we also did benefit in our relationship.
Oh, that's right. That's kind of where we started, looking for something we could do after our kids were leaving.
Yeah. So, but it's not all for couples. That's one of the myths that we really want to break, and that it is relational, but it's so much more than that. Yeah, and that I'd love to begin with even meditation. So, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, to please do that. Otherwise, a soft gaze, just out into space, so you can come inward and
Ah.
coming into your body, just to notice if you need any adjustment now and how you're sitting, breathing, and then begin imagining sitting in an experience of closeness with your tantric lover, with your beloved, and it may be even an aspect of yourself that you hold so dearly that you merge into one. That there's a spiral of bliss and light between you that rises up and flows. That there's so much vibrancy that you just sparkle with joy and bliss. That within your body, it feels alive. It feels like every cell is awake and pulsating with joy. And within that, you can feel your heart so big in your presence of who you are so strongly that any doubt, any question of your wholeness, of where you fit in this world gets to just disappear. That it feels so insignificant compared to what you feel now within your body. Feeling the cells awaken, hearing the lightness in the air around you and the breeze across your skin just feels so much ecstasy, like a orgasm running across all over your body. And as you're sitting in this tantric union, the two of you do blend and you merge and you float into the sky. You float, and as you're on the earth, you are in the sky. And as you are here, you are there. Because you are energy and everything is possible. That you are one with everything and the universe. Feeling that connection, that possibility, and feeling grounded in your human form. And then come back into your body if you floated out anywhere. Come back here to hear our voices, to see the room around you, feel the presence of this group here that's come to join us.
Yeah, so then just want to say a brief word about Tantra. I really like to start with it was about 500 BC that the first Buddha, Gautama Buddha, was around and founded Buddhism. And in that culture, there was a whole number of different philosophies and religions and life proposals that were happening. And so that by the time it got to the 600s, 700s in the current century, and well, and actually even before that, there was this restrictive culture that controlled everything. And they said things like you couldn't consume alcohol and you couldn't eat meat and fish. There was no, you couldn't use parched grains. And then they also described how you could or could not have sexual intercourse. And the original people that were tantrikas rebelled against that culture and said, wait a minute, I don't know that we have to join your club. I don't know that we have to do it your way. I think enlightenment can happen. It happened for the Buddha. How about for us? And so these original tantrikas were rebellions, and they started they call it a path of awareness, encompassing all aspects of life. And so it's not really about love or compassion. Those are great, but rather it's about cultivating an expanded sense of awareness and progressively getting rid of conditionings and programs that prevent us from looking at life face to face and seeing life as it is.
Mhm.
Consciousness is sometimes said to be seen as the vibration and essence of the universe and its divine essence. And practically, being aware of yourself involves focusing on your breath, your body posture, your thoughts, sensations, emotions. In other words, making your life a meditation. It means, I would say, becoming the witness of existence,
Mhm.
becoming a permanent meditator who observes the flow of their life no matter what's happening.
Mhm. So we want to talk a little bit about what is Tantra, and this is the historical sense, and he's talking about the consciousness. The other primary tool of Tantra is awareness. And Tantrika's aim really to transcend this illusion of ourselves and our ego and our body, our limitations. It's so much of what we are held within, and really embrace the fluidity of that allows our life force to be free and move within us. So throughout history, there is numerous tantric lineages that have emerged, each in their very unique way over many decades and evolved through many tantric practices.
Yeah, so there was names that you may or may not recognize, things like Kashmiri Shaivism, Trika lineage, and another significant tantric path is the Vajrayana, which is essential to Tibetan Buddhism. And Tibetan Buddhists are kind of like Tantra and Tibetan Buddhism kind of started together and then they just went into their own path. There's an emphasis on presence, energy, ritual, and awakening through embodiment.
Mhm. Yeah, so it really emphasizes the importance of living presently because this is where reality happens. It's what happens before our thoughts, before what we make up, our qualification of, oh, this is good, this is bad, because it's about non dualism, not having one or the other, us or them, that it's interconnected. So we want to show you a couple slides about this. That first, what is Tantra? That it really is using the idea of embracing the wholeness, that we are not broken, there's not something to fix, but it's really as we were born, as we came into our physical existence, that we are whole, and that we really, Tantra is about letting go of things that are in the way of feeling that.
Well, then I just want to jump back a little bit because when the colonialists came to India in that area, they heard this word tantra, which they didn't really understand, these English scholars in the 19th century. So they use it as a way to classify what they were learning. And for them at the time, tantra meant weft, which is fabric. So the weaving of words together, and oftentimes it was said that people would leave these texts or treatises lying around under rocks, and you might go out in the woods and be on a trail and find one of these texts.
Mhm. Yeah, so you can find the texts and they would be philosophy. Some people think it's a religion, but it's really a spiritual uh, philosophy of life, and including the ability to awaken, to come through enlightenment, through practices, but through these tools of awareness and energy. So,
Yeah, so I think what we'd like to do is move into getting into our body.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So just take a moment, and if it helps you to close your eyes, you can do that. I'm actually going to ask you to bring your hands together and just gently touch your hands together and feel the sensation of your hands rubbing on your your hand rubbing on your hand. Just to really notice that and really tune into that sensation. And then I'm going to let you kind of open up your hands and let your hands rest on your knees. You can be palm up if that works for you. And as you separate your hands, just notice that delicious feeling you had. And maybe there's a memory of it in your palms and the sides of your fingers. And then let's bring our awareness into one hand. You get to choose which hand you want to focus on. And really notice everything that's happening in that hand. And you might notice things that you like. That's really common. Maybe notice sensations like a humidity in the hand or the breeze going by your skin, and that can tell you that, oh, my hand's there. You might notice something that you don't care for, you maybe even dislike. And then sometimes we end up judging our dislikes. So notice that. Notice whether you're judging, you're perceiving, your awareness. And then even notice whether there's a judgment about your judgments. There's some right way to do it. There's some wrong way to do it. Oftentimes our culture teaches us to think that way. And for the moment, just really be with one of your hands. Feeling this hand that does so much for you. It's been here helping you throughout your life. Maybe even send a little gratitude and loving kindness into this hand. Just to open it up and feel more.
So really be with this hand. And what would it mean to let go of the qualifying, right, wrong, pleasant, unpleasant, that new duality that we often live with, to merge them into be with just all of it.
I love what you said, Sarah, the duality of it.
Mhm. Yeah, to be Tantra is about non-duality, and yet part of that is embracing the duality that is there, the good, the bad. And thank yourself for connecting with your hand. And notice, even, does it feel different having been bringing your awareness into one hand versus the other? Is there any difference in your hands? If you want to put anything in the chat about that, what you notice,
Yeah,
welcome those comments.
yeah, we love
Mhm.
your engagement, and it actually helps you pay more attention if you want to put your notes and your awarenesses in the chat.
Mhm.
So modern Tantra employs, traditional tantric practices such as breathing techniques, pranayamas. Some of you that have done yoga, you might have discovered pranayama, or physical movements, asanas, meditation. And it's also brought in contemporary tools like dance, verbal practices, and in our workshops, we create situations that help you confront belief systems, when you meet another person. It's really natural in our current society that we have judgments about people. And so sometimes we'll have a situation where maybe you're with a person that you don't know and will work with you on feeling what the judgments are and how you could accept this person as being more of a divine being. And in the result, seeing yourself as a divine being. And sometimes in modern Tantra, we use touch and massage. Um, yeah.
And then I wanted to also acknowledge that Tantra, with touch is also very mindful, very slow. That's appreciating the connection that touch might even, be, right now I can feel Thomas's hand here. So you may have heard about, energy and connection and that
Yeah, I feel
the
like something happening here.
yeah, there's a almost a warmth or a weightness in
Yeah.
here, and to have an interaction where it's really,
So if you're with a partner, you might do this. If you're by yourself, you might just bring your own hands up and feel your
mhm,
own hands.
yeah, feel the energy. You can feel it on your arm. You can feel your two hands together. You do it by yourself. Sometimes it's a little creating this, and enjoying that. And that from the classical tantra, the neo tantra has incorporated much more of the practices, some psychology practices, awareness of emotional healing that needs to happen. And many people ask, is skyddancing a dance class? Is it all about dancing? And well, I kind of insinuate about that at the beginning of a meditation I did, but we'll talk a little bit more about how it got its name in a while. Um, yeah, because Tantra really is the path of awakening. It's in our vision of enlightenment, is the word we use, but I feel like that's even limiting of what we feel and who we are when we're fully awake. So the path of Tantra does allow people to make conscious choices and um, and then to work with your energy of how do you want to move in your life? How do you want to be? And so, how about we talk a little bit more about those two tools of energy and
Sure.
consciousness?
Energy and consciousness are kind of these abstract terms sometimes, but one thing that we like to talk about is energy is, let me get this slide up here.
Right there. That's it. Mhm.
That one.
Mhm.
So energy is what you feel for you, but it's also in you. It's like this hand dance that Sarah and I were doing. That's energy. There's a life force, and your perception of life flowing through you is energy. Energy can be felt, seen, moved, shared. Energy follows your attention and your intention. So both those words that end with tion, intention and attention.
Mhm. So a lot of our within the workshops, we work with energy, and that if it feels like it's something that you're not clear about, that that's perfect time to come and work with it. And some people feel it really easily. Some people feel like it's a practice that they need to do, but it is something that I've noticed that even if we don't consciously aware of it, there's so much that happens to wake up our energy to that I often think of it as like the consciousness of the is like a remote control car. You've got that remote that's telling you what direction to go and how fast to move, and the car is the energy, the Shakti that moves on its own and without any direction. It would be kind of like chaotic or out of control. So it's that marriage of those two that really move us forward in life. And it's some things we can do to really charge and wake up our energy. If you're actually feeling a little sluggish right now, just even shake and bounce and move and come into your body and that this can create more awareness of the energy that we have within us. And then, or we can choose to direct it towards a partner. There's a lot of really yummy interactive practices that where we share energy and touch and connection within
And
the skydancing workshops.
so, yeah, so there's energy and then there's consciousness. There's this movement that Sarah was talking about, the car that's moving all over, but then there's a consciousness that also takes care of it and holds it.
Mhm.
And the other thing I want to say about that is oftentimes in Tantra, there's this idea of Shakti and Shiva merging, these dualistic concepts, the energy and the consciousness coming together. And that's oftentimes represented in what we call Yab Yum, which is a sacred tantric union. And you can see that in this picture, Shiva is this blue figure in the background, and oftentimes represented as a man, but that's not what it needs to be because everybody has consciousness in them. And Shakti is oftentimes represented by this woman here in front, not doesn't need to be female, but we kind of get stuck in our thoughts when we see a picture like this and it's reproduced for centuries. And so we really think of this sacred symbol of Yabyum, this is that symbol right here, as a tantric union and the merging of Shiva and Shakti. And one of the things I love about Margot is she said something like, her quote was, choose with awareness that which brings you joy, and it'll open the door to spirit. So choosing with awareness, the choice is the consciousness. And then what brings you joy and energy and life force is the Shakti. And then you move into spirit by the merging of those two.
Yeah, and as I guided the meditation right at the beginning, it was really based on this idea of yabyum, of being in this tantric union, of melting into two and being so vibrant in your energy. Then you can, what you will learn is skydance in a little bit. Talk about that. But I wonder if you want to guide even an awareness practice.
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
Mhm.
We've been kind of guiding a number of awareness practices, but I think this is a fun one. And I'm just gonna,
They seeing this full screen, so something's we
we
got to
actually
get the.
see you full screen, including your mail. Oh my gosh. How did that happen? Oh, but I think we got rid of it when we did to the, let me see.
Yeah, is it better now? Okay, yeah, we're
Yeah,
good.
we need to
Okay.
share just the keynote, not everything.
Hmm.
Thank you. It takes a village. And so, where was I? Oh, yeah. So I want you to think about a candle flame. And most of us have looked at a candle flame. And there's this energy and movement that happens in the candle flame, and it's constantly being recreated. There's carbon and oxygen that come together and they burn, they combust, and the candle flame stays solid. It's it's not a solid, but we in our minds can see it as a picture and we think of it as in a way solid. It doesn't it changes, but it's consistent. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, is consistent. And the funny part is we think of ourselves as solid. We're, this body, and yet we're constantly changing. So everything's changing. The breath I take now is nourishing cells in the future. And the breath I exhale is letting go of chemicals and processes that happened in the past. So there's this constant change over that's happening in the body.
A renewal of who we are in every moment and the energy that's shifting. So who we were 5 minutes ago is different than who we are now.
So shall we jump to Padmasambhava and get into the right
Yeah.
slide
Yeah.
here, not show our whole screen?
Yeah, so we've talked some about Tantra, the classical Tantra, got into Neo Tantra, and now we're moving towards SkyDancing Tantra. And where does that fit into all of this? And it actually will go back a little bit in that Padmasambhava was the second Buddha, and his name also means lotus born because it was the story that at age 8 he emerged out of the swamp on a lotus, realized as a full young boy, and then grew into a man and was enlightened initially or immediately, I should say, and then began to teach in the villages, help recover some of the injuries and clear the demons from the world. And through that time, he also, as he was working and developing, realized that he wanted to have a consort in his life that would be able to help him do his work better. And so he came to the Sambhogaya to ask Saraswati, one of the deities there to help realize this desire for him and the awareness that he could do more with a partner. So the first Buddha was very independent. The second Buddha did end up having a partner or several, and the one that we are most affiliated with is Yeshe Choigwel, who was one that got incarnated and joined Padmasambhava in his village journeys, his really teaching and making a difference and spreading Tantra throughout the East.
And one of the challenges I have is noticing when they say it's a seventh century, I think that actually means the 600s. And we have the 8th century, and I think Padmasambhava was in the 600s, so I think that's the 7th century. But it always confuses me, all these centuries. And, it was over 1,000 years ago, under 1,000.
Yeah.
Because we're in the 2000s. No, so it was 2,000 years ago, about.
Mm-hmm.
And so Margot Anand is the teacher that we studied with, and she's a pioneer really because she started in the late 70s, early 80s, and she studied around the world trying to figure out what happened to her in her first sexual experience. And she had studied Western psychology and relational dynamics and things like that, but she was also really involved in this Neo Tantra, the modern Tantra movement in the late 70s, and she wrote some books. And the books have been instrumental in awakening the world. There's oftentimes we hear from students that come in and said, "Yeah, I was in a bookstore back in, when I was in my 20s or 30s, and like this book fell off the shelf and landed on my foot. And I've always wanted to follow up on it." And it was Margot Anand's, the Art of Sexual Ecstasy book. And
Mm-hmm.
so she really helped introduce sacred sexuality. And even that term, sacred sexuality, that's not a term that our normal culture uses very often. And yet that's what she introduced here in the West.
Yeah, or the idea of spirituality and sexuality. How many of you have read or heard the book The Art of Sexual Ecstasy? Any of you there? That is or she also has several others: The Art of Sexual Magic, The Art of Everyday Ecstasy. Her latest book she wrote, it was really a story about her life path, because it began very early on, when she was actually just a young woman. Her first sexual experience, she came into intercourse and felt like there was this light of energy that moved through her and just created this vibration and fullness within her. She was like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened? Wow, nothing she'd ever heard of." Yeah, it's amazing. And so then she's like, "I want to know, and I want to know how to repeat it." So she would practice with her partner, and she would then began traveling the world over to really try to understand what happened. She called herself a bliss hunter because she wanted to know that she's on the path of bliss. What is this? So in her travels, she did seek through many cultural uh, different masters and spiritual leaders, and also got a big degree in psychology to help clear some of the things that she knew were blocking her and other people. And you want to say
Well,
something?
I just want to go back to this slide that we had up before, because this Yabyum picture, what is not shown, because our culture is kind of repressive, is this couple. They are in what we call tantric union, which is intercourse in sexual union. And so this is said to be when Padmasambhava and Yeshe Tsogyal were practicing back in Tibet and Nepal and that area, they were said to be seen skydancing around the Himalayas. And Margot felt so connected to Padmasambhava and Yeshe Tsogyal that she named her version of Tantra skydancing.
Mhm. Yeah. So here's a picture of Margot. It's from a couple of years ago. She's teaching still. We're going to be with her in June teaching in Spain, and she has a book she's continuing to write. And as she says, also, the Tantric path teaches us to embrace, to unify the ordinary, the erotic, and the sacred dimensions of our life, all of which have their roots in spirit. And I love that about the roots in spirit, because so often we feel like these are all separate things and that we have to rise above them to be spirit, but they are spirit and we are all spirit.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's one of the hallmarks of Tantra is that we don't really have to rise above anything. We find it here on the earth. We find it in the flesh, the solidity, and yet we're also composed of this element called spirit. And the combination of the two is really what is our life force energy. So, what I love about Tantra is there's no separation of spirit and matter. It's uh, it's seen separately because we oftentimes do that in our brains to understand it, that dualism. But really, Tantra is a non dualistic path where everything comes together and you're aware of your physical body and yet your energy at the same time. And it's this awareness that's the key to it.
does that sound nice to anybody? Having that, the bliss, the energy, the blend there of that experience. Yeah. Yeah, because Guy dancing is one of the many different schools of Tantra. It was really one of the primary ones that came to the West. She brought Sky dancing to the West. She had 9
Well,
institutes.
and we think it's primary because we study, but the other schools probably think they're primary too. I just got to say that. You
Mhm.
know, it's like we really revere Margot and what she
Mhm.
brought, and there's other schools too.
Yeah, there are. And she's been around for 35 years, and so a long time. And what many people appreciate about Skydancing Tantra is that it's professionalism that it has. Like even the teachers take a 2-year teacher training. It has a lot of integrity and the depth of study that we really need to do to understand it. And that also that it is life changing and the impact for many people that have come through it.
Yeah, we see quite a change in even our introductory weekends that we offer, which are start Friday night and Sunday. And people are just like, wow, I did not know that I could feel so safe, so comfortable with somebody who's a complete stranger. When you start to let go of those judgments and those
Mhm.
perceptions that are we're
Mhm.
conditioned to have about other people, and you start to see them more as a divine reflection, it
Mhm.
opens up so many doorways.
Yeah, one of our participants recently said that he's made love with a lot of women, but he never realized that he has only been intimate in that weekend workshop, that it's the first time he really understood what intimacy was. And that it felt diminishing the other experiences he's had. And yet, there's sex is great and intimacy is just so powerful and wonderful.
So yeah, back to Margot. She developed this thing we call the love and ecstasy training, and I always love that because how often do you get to say the love and ecstasy training? It's a course, it's a practice, it's do these things to find more love and ecstasy in your life. And so I love that. And what she did was she developed 3 progressive, well, it used to be done 3 weeks, 3 weeks straight. And I don't know how anybody ever did that, but
Mhm.
nowadays it's 3 separate week-long trainings. And it's a way to experience awakening through shadow work, healing, integration, and some sense of mastery. We can't guarantee that you'll be enlightened at the end of 3 week-long trainings, but you'll have
You
a
got it
sense.
down, right?
Oh, I've got it down. Oh, yeah, I'm there. And you'll have a sense of, oh, maybe if I did these tools and did this practice, I could get someplace different. And,
Mhm.
that's what it's really all about is practicing to get to your goals. The
Mhm.
energy follows your intention. And so each LET, we call it the Love and Ecstasy training, the LET. includes deep energetic, emotional, and spiritual transformation.
Yeah, so I want to talk about each one for a little bit because I think that they're really powerful in themselves. We do recommend people take them in progression, in order, and that LET1 was designed by understanding that, our what we'd love to do is to awaken our whole body as a vibrant energy of joy and such. But for most of us, we have life experiences that have gotten in the way. They've constricted, we feel constricted or limited. I know as I said, I felt lost or small, and a lot of those were things I was making up about myself, that I really had to shed those ideas that didn't fit anymore, that they really were limiting, um, and that I could also wake up my body to know all the creativity, all the power, all the skills and um, impact that I could have when I'm living more my life rather than the idea of what I thought others wanted me to live. And so with cycle one, you get to, you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
doing a little technology thing here. So just so you know, all these people did give us permission to take a picture. We don't allow cameras in our workshops because we really want people to drop into a more sacred space. But this is a photo that we took afterwards with these folks' permission. So thank you for doing that. In cycle one, it's called the body ecstatic and sexual healing. And there's this idea that Margot proposed about cleaning the basement. So whether you've fallen on your butt, or you were a gymnast and landed on the balance beam, or you were sexually abused, or you had potty training issues, or there's all sorts of possibilities that kind of shut down your energy in your pelvic floor. Even mom and dad saying, don't touch yourself down there, or it's dirty, or all those kind of messages. And so what we really try to do is bring some healing to this essential area of our body.
Yeah,
And
and our whole body.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's our whole body, but it starts really in the pelvis,
Mhm.
because that's the base, from
Mhm.
which we all grow.
Mhm. Yeah, and she's talking about also the cleaning the basement as, this part of our body, but the kind of the core of how we came into the world. What do we need to be living our adult self? And that at the same time, we're learning to awaken our vital energy and notice what's in the way. So we are learning to clear those things and make a pathway for our joy and vitality.
So just like the chakras that we use a lot in SkyDancing Tantra, the cycles mirror relational development. You start out this life feeling like you're alone in the world. You were just in this wonderful environment when you were in
The
utero,
womb.
the womb, yeah. And then you come
Mhm.
out and you're like, I'm alone. And what the hell am I going to do? And how am I going to survive? So much of our early life is spent in survival mode, and you're developing coping strategies. And sometimes those coping strategies aren't that suitable for you as you grow up.
Mhm. Yeah. And should we go to cycle two?
Yeah, let's move to cycle two.
So cycle two, a lot of people just want to jump to cycle two because it's a
Yeah,
lot about celebrating love and orgasm. Oh, God.
they see that title and sign me up.
And I'll tell you that when they do cycle one first, they get so much more out of cycle two that we've just really insisted on that, because there's that to waken our body and our idea of orgasm. It really separates also orgasm from ejaculation, because we can have a heartgasm, we can have third orgasm, and awaken the whole body for full pleasure and orgasm. And that we do integrate heart and the power and the creation within our life that we have available to us, that we can also expand our emotional health, our intelligence, for deeper capacity for intimacy, to give and receive, to be present, to, my coworkers and my kids notice that there's something shifted in me through this work. So it's been life-changing in
Yeah.
many ways.
Well, then let's move into cycle 3.
Mhm.
So in cycle 3, we really start to dive into. So cycle 3, we've laid the foundation with cycle 1, and people start to open up. And then cycle 2 is how do you use that energy? How do you make use of it in your body and bring from meditation to ecstasy, from opening up the joy of your spirit? And there's more subtle practices in cycle 3 that really open the door to your deep wisdom. There's a full practice that Margot developed, she calls the wave of bliss, where consciousness and energy merge into oneness. And you can practice the wave of bliss by yourself. That's a great way to learn it and to get there. It's
Mhm.
like playing the piano, you play it by yourself. But then when you get to a partnered piece, I'm not feeling the music, but because I'm more of a dancer, it's like when I take dance classes, I practice all the steps by myself. And then I'll practice with different partners. And then when I come home with Sarah, we can dance in the way that it really feels to us. And so there's more joy and there's more ecstasy in our integration.
Mhm. Yeah, and the wave of bliss is really what she called what she believes happened to her at a young age in her first sexual experience. So she's like, okay, this is the path of bliss, the path of the wave of bliss by those three LETs. And and really also seeing our body as a temple, as sacred, and for a lot of people, that's profound healing in itself to let go of the judgments and the difficulties that we carry. And people say, "Well, how can I do that?" Or "What am I going to do in this group?" And that so often it's because there is such support with the people that have been through this journey with you. A lot of them are doing multiple LETs. We call them love and ecstasy trainings, LETs, and they become often closer than our own family
Yeah.
because we've shared such intimate, vulnerable experiences together.
So I'm going to put the link for the SkyDancing Tantra.org website and for the love and ecstasy training into the chat. If you want to click that, it'll open right up and you can take a look and save it for later. One of the things we want to tell you about, because the LET is such a deep experience and there's so many things that you're learning that are like if you went to the LET and you had to learn some of these things, there's a sense of maybe being a little lost because there's some foundational practices that we think are really helpful to have. And so Skydancing facilitators will offer introductory weekend retreats that offer you just what you need to be ready, know that Skydancing path is right for you. And it's these weekends are a dynamic intro for newcomers.
Mhm. Yeah, so we do believe that the taking a weekend is super important for many reasons. Part of it is learning the foundational skills. Part of it is really to know your own emotions and when you're faced with these intimacy, because for a lot of us, intimacy is the most scary thing. And so, how do I cope? Do I fight, flight, freeze, try to fix,
Yeah, oftentimes
or
our traumas happen in very intimate moments. It was just me and the person I was with.
Yeah. And so, how do we really build up our fortitude to handle those things and then learning the elements of Skydancing Tantra to be able to go forward? There are some things that you can do on your own, even before you come to a weekend. There's some people do some breath work, some own clearing or meditation. You may find that it helps to read her book and do some of the practices within there.
Well,
There's a
and
sexual breathing practice that's listed in there of really helps that open up that central flute.
having a yoga practice is also helpful. Having a meditation practice is very helpful because, in essence, we're teaching meditation. We're just doing it with another person instead of sitting on the pillow all by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets more complicated when we open our eyes and have somebody across from us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do I stay attuned to
How do
myself?
I stay present when I've got, yeah.
and not lose into the chaos of the room or the world or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So, let's see, how are we doing? We've got a little bit of time left, so I want to, we'll be coming to questions too. So if you, through this you have questions, feel free to hang on to them. And I'd love to go into a guided practice now. And we've been sitting a while, so if you want to stand, you can do it standing, or if you just want to even shake and move a little bit before we come into closing our eyes in a moment. So we're
And
doing quite a bit of meditative closing eyes, and in the room there is a lot of interaction that it's a little harder to do on Zoom here.
and I do see the question about the flow of the day, and we can get to that later.
Mhm.
Yeah. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, I love to do that. So, yeah, even coming inward. So if that means to close your eyes, to notice yourself, and begin to scan your body, maybe from head to toe, just to look and notice a few sensations and name them to yourself. Is it like I have a little stiffness in my shoulder? I feel my lungs expanding and a deepening of my breath.
Or maybe you just feel a sense of settling and calmness as you close your eyes and you're not straining to look at the screen.
Mhm. And if there's any physical adjustments you're noticing that would make you more comfortable, to do that. So we want to always attend and care for our bodies, be present in our bodies. And getting down to your belly, your waist, your hips, any other sensations there. And there's a trillion. A part of that, the self care, is being able to track this. Okay, is my belly full, or am I hungry, ready for dinner? Am I thirsty? Is my the clothing too tight and I would like to wear something more comfortable to support me? Am I hot? What really would be beneficial?
So there's all sorts of physical sensations that Sarah just described, but there's also inner world sensations. Like, I mean, hunger is kind of an inner world sensation, but there can be movements in your body, or maybe an ache in your joint, or a sensation of your um, blood coursing through your body, maybe even your heart beating.
Yeah, tuning inward. And then ask yourself the question, what is alive within me right now? What is alive within me? Where do you feel a little spark, a little attention? And it's sort of what we're drawn to, often the shiny object inside. So, what is alive within you right now? Mm. Bringing the awareness to that. Because a big part of Tantra is knowing ourselves. And then we would feel into whether that was something that we would want to communicate. Like, I'm noticing there's a bit of dryness and I'd love some water. And that as I speak of water, I think of supper I'm about to have in a little bit. I'm feeling some desire for tastiness. It might be desire for sitting in a different position, or desire for being held, or desire for your question to be answered. Notice what is alive, and is there a desire that rises from that? And from that desire, is there any way that you can do in a little bit, it may not be now, but to take care of that self for you? Is there anything of even just befriending it and saying, yeah, I feel a little of that. I do feel that. And I'm glad that I'm noticing that right now. I might be feeling a little loneliness. Yep, I feel that. It's okay to feel lonely and be with that. Or I'm feeling a little agitated. Okay. Yep, that's
It's
there.
it's kind of like you're holding the hand of the loneliness or the hunger and acknowledging its presence and just allowing it to relax a little bit and not to maybe get into a temper tantrum like a little child does, but to be able to go, oh, okay, dinner's going to happen. I got it. I'm here. I'm present.
Yeah. Just being with that without having to change anything right now, acknowledging being with yourself, and then bringing your hands to your heart. Bringing your hands to your heart and feel the warmth of your hands, the physical touch of your hands. And one of the beautiful things about our bodies is they can feel support even when it's from ourselves, because it's only our mind that makes up that idea that who is doing it. But our bodies just feel held, feel listened to and cared about. So we can do this self care and then invite some gratitude for listening and being with your inner world right through this experience.
One of the messages that I learned from one of my teachers, David Cates, is to have these hands here in your heart as if your hands are giving your heart the message, I'm here for you. I feel you. I've got you.
Mm. Yeah, I think we all need that at times.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Mm.
And
Yeah.
then just to notice, does your heart have a message that it might want to give you right now? Your hands are giving your heart the message, I've got you, I'm holding you. But does your heart have a message? Like if your heart could speak, what might it tell your body, your consciousness right now?
So dropping your awareness into your heart and just open up your awareness and ears. Taking any message, anything, or sometimes it shows up later. I have friends sending a message or email, or for that heart communicate to you, hearing a song that has the perfect words, seeing something. Yeah, because awareness is the doorway to ecstasy for ourselves, communicating and supporting ourselves and getting support around us.
And then I'd like to go back to the question. I think this is a good time for it. The question was kind of the flow of the day during cycle one of the love and ecstasy training. And just wanted to give you an idea of what it was like. And do you want? Okay,
No,
so
go
okay,
ahead.
okay, great. So typical day in skydance is we get up and we have something we call an active meditation. And in the active meditation, you're encouraged to use what Margot Anand developed, coined the phrase. Actually, it was developed a long time ago, but to use movement, to use breath, and to sound to make yourself be active. It's typical meditation is sit down and be quiet. And that's really tough for Westerners to do because we're so conditioned to sit down at our desk and go into our brain. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you're meditating, your brain just gets really active and you have all these thoughts. Active meditation is a way to get into your body. And so that's the way we start with an active meditation. Then we'll have breakfast. We'll get into the lessons of the day throughout the day. There's a morning session and an afternoon session. And then in the evening, typically it's more of a time of integration and dropping. Yeah.
Ritual or
It's like
connection.
the big morning is activating, and then at the end of the day, we go into more the restorative part, and then you go to bed, and the next day you get up and do it all over again. It's
Mhm.
quite a intense process. That's why we call it a training.
Yeah, there is a schedule on the 11 Ecstasy Cycle 1 website page too, if you want to grab the link that's also in the chat, that'll have that in there. One option people have asked about is, well, what if I really like it and want to do more? And that there was developed out of this desire and interest of really diving into it, and especially having additional support between the 11 ecstasy trainings, is that having a whole year of love and ecstasy is what we call it. And so that it is a process of deciding to do all three of them, like cycle 1, 2, and 3 of the love and ecstasy within a year. And the year may start in May. We have some people who are starting in May. We also have a cycle 1 in August,
In
and
Colorado.
in Colorado. And that what they appreciate is that there is much more hands-on connection between the cycles, that we have small groups, we have coaching, we have some meditations, and we have, we just finished our third cycle with some of our community here a couple weeks ago, and they're continuing to meet regularly. Just one of them said, "Hey, I'm going to do an active meditation online. Anybody want to join me?" And there's several people joined because it is such a tight group that they've developed over the year.
Yeah, and this
Mhm.
year of love and ecstasy is something that Sarah created. I think this is the second year you've done it. And
Mhm.
it's just been a joy to witness how deep these students are diving into it. Because it used to be people would kind of come to cycle 1, and then they might come the next year to cycle 2, and then maybe another year to cycle 3. And these folks are really choosing to, I don't know, I don't want to keep saying the phrase dive deep, but really get to know themselves and their cohort in a
Mhm.
different way. And it feels like this very supportive group. And then because you're diving in and giving so much energy and attention to it, we want to help you out. And
Yeah.
so we give you a discount of $600 over the course of the 3 modules so that you can really feel supported, because we just find that the process is so inspiring.
Yeah, that it's really kind of helping go back to Margot Anand's intention of doing these 3 weeks, but doing them with the community that's holding support in there. So we have this possibility if you're interested in doing it. I'd love to have, I don't I always look forward to the meetings because we actually have a meeting once a month with different topics. Like we'll talk about the sexual breathing practice, we'll talk about orgasm, we talk about masculinity, femininity, we talk about how to prepare for each of the cycles and how to integrate afterwards. And I kind of wish I'd had it when I was going through, because would have, I think, helped me along the way. And
Yeah.
having, because I love the people that I
Yeah.
have gone through these with. They're like my Tantra family that I see still often.
And one of the
Mhm.
things we really want you to know is that it's a journey, not a destination. And so there's this sense of connection and heartfelt love that happens between people. There's bliss, there's relaxation, there's holding, there's this beautiful journey. And there's no destination, it's a journey. One of Margot's central philosophies is give up goal orientation.
Yeah, so we'd also open to questions here. And as you formulate your questions, want to acknowledge that that this is a big step, that it is a pretty intense experience for many people. But imagine what life would be like without living in a place of fear, judgment, oppression. The Tantra invites really the full expressiveness of ourselves to come alive, break free of restrictive cultural limitations and psychological wounds. Yeah, what would it be like to express ourselves without feeling like we had to edit? Except in some work situations or some places, but that's part of that choosing with awareness, that
Well,
which brings you joy and keeps your job.
and especially being able to celebrate your sexuality, your sensuality without a sense of shame. That's one of the real strong forces of our culture, is instilling shame in us to keep us in place, to keep us in line, cause us to be less authentic. And so in the Skydancing Tantra Love and Ecstasy training, we encourage people to really be vulnerable, to feel their emotions, their joys, their sorrows, all of it, because that panoply, I think that's the right word, the all the tapestry that is of our lives is important. It's hard to feel the joy if you can't feel the sorrow. You need both sides of that coin to be really authentic.
So we have a question about the active meditations, and there are a few different ones we do. We do a different meditation every day. It really is intended to inspire what energy we're bringing into the day. So if we're doing a lot about waking up all of our orgasmic potential, it's going to be one that does like a Kundalini meditation or a chakra enlightening meditation. And that there's some are Osho meditation, some are other practices, quantum light breath meditations, and then others that people have developed. But they're beautiful as a way to just do a practice yourself, and they are often are available on our website. You can purchase, or that they are available for free, the Osho meditations. And so those are things we do between our cycles because we like to do it.
So then I have
Shifts
a question,
shifts my
Sarah.
energy of my work, and so
Are we going to sign off and put our last slide and then take questions, or are we going to take
we're
questions?
taking questions
Okay,
now.
great. Okay.
Yeah. So if
So
anybody
then we
else,
need to let you know that if you come on and you talk, you will be heard by other people. If you don't want to be heard or seen, you can put your question in the chat.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you want to raise your hand too, if anybody has a question, that there's electronic hand. If you want to put it in there, we're open to taking questions. Mm.
So one of our questions for you while you're deciding about your question is, what's alive for you right now? Is there anything that's just bubbling up, you're aware of, that you're feeling in your body? Because we'd love to clarify anything
Mhm.
about this path, our philosophy, or any of the practices.
Yeah, is there some way that it touched you or felt like resonance of, oh, yeah, I could see that, or I felt some of that, or I'd love to feel some of that. And even what is your takeaway from this? Anybody?
Well, we must have done a good job. Nobody has any question.
It does tend to be a body-based experience. So some of
Yeah.
it is hard to say and tell of all. Like some people say, well, what are the practices you do? And there's so many. And Margot was really brilliant in designing her workshops, and that she also makes room for living with what the group is bringing, because there is personal sharing that happens, and uh, help individuals through the time if there's areas they're stuck to.
Yeah, one of the things we're recognizing in our group processes is that if there's somebody feeling something, some version of an embarrassment or a challenge or a life situation, there's probably other people in the room that can relate to it. And so we really try to bring out the relational journey throughout the week-long training. And so how do we get that in the group room? And because we're all in it together, we're like a tribe. I mentioned earlier that oftentimes trauma happens when you're with one other person or you're all alone. And one of the ways to really heal traumas is to be in relation with other people. And this group is that, we create this situation where you can let go and feel free to express whatever it is that you have going on, and feel support in that, and move into a healing place with it. So you don't have to feel isolated and alone with things that happened to you in your past.
Mhm. Yeah, so somebody's saying they love Margot. Yes, we do too. Lots of love to Margot and really appreciating what she brought to the world. I think it has changed thousands of people and their sexual life, their intimacy, their confidence, and really welcome you to ask questions with us if things come up after this, after you see this video, this recording, if you're watching it in recording.
So actually, we're at time. So I'm going to just
Mhm.
share this last slide here because we want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up and being here. And we're going to close the recording so that we could take some questions offline. But we really appreciate your presence.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Glad to be here with you.
And then let's all just take a nice deep breath. Ah, and another deep breath. Ah.